I think Bitcoin is about to explode. Bitcoin is flashing a rare signal that could mean explosive growth ahead. This signal has happened 3 times before. In 2012, the signal did an 8,000% return. 2016, 2,700% return. 2020, 500% return. 2025, we are not sure what it's going to do. That is why in this video, I'll reveal this special Bitcoin signal that very few people know or are talking about, and exactly how you can profit from it. Where can you buy Bitcoin, and where can you set your stop loss so that in case if it doesn't go as expected, you can still protect your money. With half a decade of experience in the markets, I've helped Profit Punch members spot winners like Upfolio, which did 350% in 2 months, SMCI 200% in 2 months, NVDA 200% in 2 months. Our newsletter doesn't just send you alerts, we also teach you all the necessary strategies and provide complete educational resources so that you can understand exactly why these trades work. Grab our free guide called How to Spot 200% Stocks Before They Explode using the link in the description below. This is the exact system we use to find these massive winners before they take off. On this side, I do have a monthly chart of Bitcoin, and this right here is a relative strength indicator. We are going to use the monthly chart to see the very long-term moves and this special signal that I'm about to show you. Then we also have the daily chart that I will use to show us where we can get in exactly so that we can get these big gains. So there are 2 strong signals that I learned from Constance Brown. The first signal is if the RSI bounces off the 60 level and goes up, that is a very strong bullish sign. The next one is that if the RSI bounces off this crossover of the moving averages, that is also a very bullish sign. So let's see how this went on in the past. So here we see they didn't have an RSI back here, but you can see it looked like it had just bounced off the 60 level. That was the first time we got an RSI in Bitcoin. And then from there, we can see that we got an 8,000% return. You can see that right there. And then when is always a good time to buy? When you go on the daily chart, you like to study this base or this consolidation. So the safest time to buy is when you get something called a handle or a cheat that happens in the upper third of the consolidation. So this is something that we call a handle. It's a very tight spot where volume dries up, but that is not so nice because it's very deep in the base, so it cannot be trusted. Normally that is the time where you can just initiate a small position to see how it's going to go. Then the real time you buy is when the handle is normally in the upper third of the base. When it's very low like this, it cannot be trusted. So this was a good time to buy, and you can see this is before that 8,000% move. It breaks out, and then on the weekly chart you can see now it comes and forms this other nice handle here. You see this long several days, I'm sure it's about 3 weeks, where Bitcoin goes nowhere. The price action is very tight, means people are not willing to sell, and as soon as it jumps out of that area, it starts a very ferocious move. So here you would buy, and probably you'd put your stop here, a 5% stop, and then that's all you're just gonna risk, and then you just go through this big move. And I don't think a lot of people actually bought the move here because Bitcoin was so early and nobody trusted it. So you can see that big profit. Then another time this signal showed itself is, we see it sits down for several months, right? So it sits down for about 30 months, and it comes and it forms another signal here. So you see this very tight price action. This is something we call a handle. And these long lines down are good signals. They're called checkouts. Checkouts mean that there are some big whales who want to buy Bitcoin for themselves or the stock for themselves, and then they try to push their stock price down so that they can scare people. But a good trick to know if this is a very good handle is that I told you the first thing is that it must be in the upper half of the base, upper third ideally, but upper half is also okay. So we see here the base is this long, it's in the upper half, good sign. And another thing is that from the top to the bottom of that consolidation, if it's less than 3 times of the average true range of, let me say, Bitcoin during that time, then it can be trusted as well. So how did we know that the average true range? So I have this value here, and the average true range around that time was about, should I say, 17. So if it's less than or about 50, then it's okay. So it was 30. So I know this is tight enough. As soon as it jumps out of this area, I should be able to buy again. So you can see you buy here. As soon as it breaks out, you put your stop here, 4% loss. And then you could have just held. This was another checkout here. Some people could have sold here for that quick return. That's okay. And then it comes and sets up again. So on the monthly chart, we see we are trying to find something which is in the upper third of the base. So the best time to actually buy it the last time was about here. So you see this chit here. It's in the upper half of the base. That's good because you see the base is from here to here. This is about upper half of the base. The 50-day simple moving average is sloping up. That's a very good sign as well. And then you buy there, stop is about 5. And then basically what you do is that you can just ride Bitcoin till the top. So we can see here you could have risked 5% and then you could have gotten a 4,000% maximum return. Of course, you're not going to be selling at 4,000%, but you get the gist. Once these big breakouts from a monthly base happen, one thing you can also know is that normally the time it runs is about a quarter, should I say 0.4? Yeah, a 0.4 of the time that it's spent in this base. So if it has spent around, so the base is just from here to there. So if it has spent, so the big base is about 36 bars. So 0.4, maybe a half can be, let me say, what's a half of that? 15, could be about 18 bars. So you can use that also as the time principle to know how long the bull run might last. It's not exactly accurate, but it also helps. So here we can count 18 bars from the breakout. Let me say this was the breakout, including the breakout. So we just count 18. So you can see it's just around that time. That's when Bitcoin topped as well. So it's interesting, those time cycles. And then we go into the 2020. Oh, I forgot to show you the RSIs. So you can see the RSI comes while it's crossing over from red to green. So the faster moving average is the 13-day moving average of the RSI. Then the slow one is the 45-day. So I just color code them. So green means that the fast is above the slow. Then red means that the fast is below the slow. So once you see this crossover here, and then we see a testing at both the crossover and at the 60 level, that's also a very, very strong sign. And then from there, you can see that's when you did the 2,500% move. So when does this happen again? We see it here in 2020. We are having that crossover. It's just about to happen. And then we have this test, which is also around the 60 level. And then we can see this big 500% move. And of course, we are going to look for those chits as well. So we're looking for the upper third of the base. So I think it's just around here. Of course, hindsight is 2020. It's easier to see these things in hindsight than see them in real time. So we can see that the best chit, maybe you can say, is this a chit? No, it's not a chit. Like I told you, it should be at least 3. The maximum distance should be 3 times of the average true range. This is not a hard fact, but I found that those are the ones that seem to work best from my tests and from my experience. So this is it's a very deep correction. We don't trust it. So we wait for it to set up again. And then we can see there is some nice setting up here. So it forms some tight price action here. So maybe someone adds a fast position here. But since the 50-day moving average is sloping down and I don't trust falling 50 days, I'll just put a little bit of some money here. Or maybe just put a third of my position. Then I can see another chit here. So these chits can be about a week long, 5 bars on the daily chart, could be 2 weeks. We're not sure, even 3 weeks. So as soon as it jumps out on a strong bullish bar, then I'll just buy it above the high of that bar. My stop is here, another 5%. And then there I'll just ride because I know I've seen this strong signal, and then I'll just ride until I see a close under the 50-day or under the 30-week moving average. So we see Bitcoin did run and run, but you see you had your 5% risk because you entered at the right time. And then Bitcoin actually didn't close under the 50-day until it did about 375%, but you only risked 5%. So let's say you risked $681, and then for each $600 you risked, you got $40,000. So that was a very good profit. And of course, the reason I've been showing you those things is because we are seeing the same signal again. So we see that signal here where it has crossed over. This time it tests a little bit late, but that's okay because here the signal is both at the crossover and at the 60 level. Right now, the signal is after the crossover, but it's at the 60 level. So we see that first signal. That's when I sent out an alert to people in the newsletter. I'm like, hey guys, buy this thing. You see the base is forming. We can see it here. I think now it's better we switch to the weekly chart just for a better understanding. of what the base looks like. A base is that consolidation. So we see this base, it's here. We want things in the upper half or upper third of the base. So the first thing that I see is a nice consolidation here. Oops, I already drew that consolidation. So it jumps out of that, so that's a good sign. So you can kind of risk. Good trades never come below that confirmation candle. So I also normally use it as a stop. So for me, I'll probably just risk about 6%. And then we see it comes, forms another cheat here. Once it jumps out, I can use this as my stop. I think I would have been stopped out. It forms another cheat again. So this time it formed 3 entry opportunities. I think it's harder to see because it's a logarithmic chart. So here, let's say you bought here, your risk was about 6%, maximum return was about 60%. And remember, I don't think that the time cycle is over, because remember when I told you that we just get 0.4 of the time it was sitting down, and you can see this base is from 2021 to 2025. So it's a 4-year base. It's very long. I think it's way longer than these ones. Actually, they're quite the same length. So these are more like super cycles. So these super cycles, you just want to get in once and you want to sit. And what is happening right now is that we see this nice big breakout that's in the upper third of the base. That's a good sign. And then normally when stock breaks out, there are 2 things that happen. It can continue moving. Actually, 3 things. It can come back and fall down, or it will come back and test the breakout level. So I can see Bitcoin has done that on the weekly chart. It has come back to test the breakout level. And I think it is time for it to move again. I think that's what it's going to do. So now we're looking into the current signal and how you can profit from this. So Bitcoin has formed this small cheat here. So you know those cheats we're talking about. Very tight, compressed price action. And you have to wait for price to jump over that thing. If you don't wait for it to jump over that thing, you're likely to lose money. Because here we can see it did from something that looks like a cheat, but this was not a nice one. It didn't jump over it. It just actually jumped down. I mean, the price went down. So here I actually did initiate a first position, but I did not tell the people of Profit Punch yet, because it's a good place to add and begin a position. I added here at 86,000, but the reason why I think it's not for amateurs is because it has not yet shown a good signal. Like I told you, it has to be in the upper third of the base. This is definitely in the lower third. And stocks also don't normally just run through a falling 50-day moving average. Normally what happens is that the 50-day moving average is sloping down. The stock or the commodity is going to try to go through, and then it's going to come and try to test it again, and then it's going to run up. So what I think is going to happen is that we have our cheat here. It has jumped out of that cheat. Then we want to see it forming another cheat or a handle. We're also going to look for that tight price action and wait for it to jump out. And as soon as it jumps out, then I think I'm going to make a very huge bet on Bitcoin. I don't know how far it's going to go. That's why I'll be using my moving averages as a guide. So here, if you use the 50-day moving averages, by the way, all the selling guides are in the resources part page of the newsletter. So please use those. If you use a 50-day simple moving average, you'd have held through 300%. Easy. But you only risked about even 4.5%. So I think that's the beauty of getting in these really good areas. And as soon as it jumps up about 10%, now I'm break even. I'm not even risking any more money. Everything is bound to be a profit from there. So I think what Bitcoin is going to do might be something like it did in 2016, 2017. I think it's going to run up. It's going to come test the 50-day like it was doing here. But these are basically adding times until kind of the time cycle finishes. So yeah, like I said, sign up for the newsletter. I'll be sending out an alert when I see that cheat. It's also possible that Bitcoin doesn't do this cheat. It doesn't form this consolidation that we're looking for so that we can buy and it goes up. It's also possible that Bitcoin just crashes. We're not sure about that. But as I told you, this is speculation or investing, as some people call it. And those are the risks we take. But like I showed you before, like you're risking 5% to make 300%. If those are your odds, then I think it's a good time to take a bet every time. I hope you found value in this video. May the markets be with you.